And now, the Rink Rap podcast from Forever Blueshirts, talking all things New York Rangers hockey. Here's your host, Jim Cerny.
What's happening, Blueshirts faithful? Welcome to the latest edition of the Rink Rap podcast, the dog days of summer. They're here, mid-August, but we're here because that is what we do. You know, at least 52 shows a year, at least one a week. Sometimes you get more. You get the bonus shows for, whatever big things are going on in the world of the Rangers and the Rangers verse, as we call it. But yeah, dog days of summer, doesn't matter. We're here. That's what we do. Jim Cerny here with you. Thanks for joining me on the Rink Rap podcast. Thanks for liking and subscribing and also making this a fun journey, right? I talk about doing this at least every week. There's no time off. Like even when I go away, like I'm going away. I'm going away on vacation on Wednesday this week, but make sure to get a podcast in. And again, even though, as I said, it's the dog days of summer, almost every hockey person I know is away on vacation. Like they're not doing work. They're not doing interviews. Like they're just not available. It's actually pretty funny. Ranger fans will appreciate this. Michael Del Zotto, I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, DZ, might you be free, this week to hop on the show?" And, he's like, "Man, I'd love to. And I will, down the road, but it's the summer. I'm traveling, I'm away, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." I'm like, yeah, I got you. I've heard this story before. So that's a little tease. We will have Michael Del Zotto on the show, maybe in a few weeks or a month's time, maybe during training camp. We were talking about maybe getting him on during Rangers training camp in September, but so that's a little tease for you, but it's also a way of saying this is going to be the solo show. Right. We've had a bunch of really, really good guests this summer, breaking down the Rangers off season, kind of previewing of, what's ahead. We tried to attack it from all different angles, and we had some fun as well. We went up, we did the show, in upstate New York at the New York State Hockey Hall of Fame. So we've done a couple different things this summer as well. But today we're just going to fly solo. All right. Everybody's away but Cerny. But I got plenty to say. Right. Instead of asking all the questions, I want to answer some of the questions and react to a bunch of the things that the fans have been, hitting me up with in my notifications on social media, things of that nature. So that's what today's show is going to be about, this week's show. And then jet off to Banff. I got to get this out there, man. I have always wanted to go to Banff. You work in hockey and it seems like every hockey person, has been to Banff, whether they're a player, a coach, a management person, media, almost everybody in the game has been to Banff except Cerny. So we got a family trip planned and we're heading out there, Wednesday. We're going to be there about 5-6 days. Really looking forward to it. It's just spectacular. My son's been there. I remember when he sent his pictures from Lake Louise and some of their other stops when he went with some friends, and it's everything that you imagined it would be, right? Seeing those photos. So going to partake in that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Listen, if you've been there, any of you out there, you want to hit me up on social media with any itinerary additions that you want to add. I'm all about it. Hook me up. But yeah, really looking forward to it. And yeah, gonna definitely do the Lake Louise and do the tram up to the Sky Bistro and do the trails up there. So a lot of hiking and maybe some biking and hitting up the sites, the lakes and all that. And decompress for a little bit. But we will be back with another show of Rink Rap next week. I promise you. Maybe more towards the middle of the week. But yeah, there will be more Rink Rap next week because we do not miss a week of producing content and producing the podcast for you, right? Which actually, two things about that. Really appreciate the support, right? Fans have been really supportive and appreciative of the fact that, Forever Blueshirts is 365 days a year, content producer. There are stories up every day. So, Rangers get eliminated from playoff contention. Their season ends after game 82, in mid-April. And whatever happens after that happens in their off season. But at Forever Blueshirts, we just don't work around, the news, right? We have to produce stuff every day, analysis, commentary, anything tied to the New York Rangers, because we are a website about one team. That's it, right? And, we got to pay the bills. And, there are people that own that company. And, they got to pay the bills. So people like me, I got to produce the content and the podcast and all that. And so many of you have been so appreciative of the fact that, yeah, it's a long off season, right? And it can be a grind and a drag, especially when your team's coming off a crappy season, 2 crappy seasons, really. But still we find, new angles and, always trying to search for things to give you real good content. We really dig in, working the phones all the time. I'm talking to people, trying to get good guests for the podcast, all that, so that we deliver for Ranger fans. But it's funny because there are always people that are pissed off. Usually they're the social media, angry social media types, stereotypical angry social media types that, will pop up in my feed and be like, come on, Cerny, what's this crap you're writing about? Who cares who the alternate captains are next season? They've already got 3 letter wearers. They don't even need 2 more, blah, 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 blah. Or, they see a headline in a story and they're like, what are you doing? We're writing a story like, it must be the summer blues. You got nothing else to write about, just crap like that. And I'm like, you know what, man, I wish I could be you. And no, actually, I don't. I don't wish I was him or them, the ones that complain. I'm not a complainer. But I was going to say, I wish I could be like you and just check out for a few months and then come back for training camp, or come back when the draft is held, or come back when free agency happens, or when the Rangers make a trade or their coaching change or whatever. That doesn't work in our business, right? So I appreciate you all that appreciate that we're out there 365 days a year hustling. There's never a day that goes by we don't have new content, on the website. And trust me, it is tough, in the dog days of August. And when I'm away, I have some stories queued up. Also, we have Ryan McInerney's got a bunch of things going on. He'll be posting. John Kreiser will stay on top of the news, whatever news might happen in the next week till I come back. So, hey, man, the train keeps on rolling. One funny thing, and then I'm going to get into Rangers, I promise, right? But I can have some fun here. There's no guests. Not that I don't have fun with guests, but I can have a little bit of fun here. Give me some latitude, right? It's dog days of August. And I'm pulling you away right now from, the Yankees, surviving a summer, really most of the season, but surviving the summer without Aaron Judge and a bunch of other key injured guys. And you're all fired up about Lombard and, and the Yankees, pushing, making the run at the Rays in the American League East. And even Met fans now, after your roster got decimated, they're luring you back in again, right? Because they've won 6 out of 7 on their current road trip, and they're playing better and looser, and you're excited about the kids, Ewing and Benj and McLean and Scott and, whatever. And then the football fans, Jets, they're first preseason game is coming up this weekend. So same for the Giants. Jets are also, taking on the Bucks. They're sharing practices together, scrimmaging against each other this week. So there's so much going on. And, when we're building towards hockey training camps in September, season starts September 29th. So, there's a lot going on. I appreciate you. I'm luring you away from your other sports, right? To hang out and hear some Ranger talk. But I got to tell this one quick story. Okay. And it's back from my Islander days when I was really first working for a team. I was a broadcaster for the New York Islanders, a radio guy. And I remember my first trip to Alberta. We fly into Calgary. And even before the trip, Joey McMahon was the equipment manager of the Islanders then. And Joey suggested, he said, listen, man, bring your skates on the trip because you're really going to want to go. It's a little bit out of downtown, but where the Olympic Village is in Calgary. Remember, Calgary hosted the Winter Olympics 88, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 1988. In any case, he said it's really cool. And, you can go there, it's an area where they did, metal presentations and there's a rink and you can skate on the outdoor hockey rink. He says it's really cool. I've done it. I may do it on this trip too, but you definitely need to do it. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. So first time in Calgary. So, I arrive, get to the hotel, grab my skates, drop my stuff off, grab my skates, grab a taxi. It didn't seem that far, maybe 15 to 20 minute drive or whatever. It's between, the real downtown of Calgary and where the Saddle Dome is, where the Flames play. So anyway, big buildup, right? So it was really cool. And I was skating there, and there were not a lot of people. There were a handful of people. I mean, it was damn cold. It's Calgary. It's the middle of winter. It's in the afternoon. Sun's starting to go down. So, it was cold, but, you got the blood pumping, you're skating, and it's beautiful. You see, the lights coming up on downtown, the city, and beyond that, you've got the mountains, that surround Calgary. I mean, it was really cool. However, there's a problem. It's Calgary. I'm a New York kid. And, I'm like, well, I'll be able to get back. Taxis will be going by. There are always taxis in a city, right? No, not quite, Jim. And there's no subway. And I don't see any buses heading to downtown. And, this is pre-Uber days. I don't have a cell phone. I'm stuck. I am out here in the middle of, I don't know where. I've never been here before. I'm not quite in the downtown. I don't know the exact address of the hotel. I know the name of the hotel. I paid some attention to, what the landscape looked like, where the hotel was near. I know it was near this restaurant, and I know we passed this shopping district or whatever. I'm lost, man. And there's no taxi. I'm waiting. I'm like, listen, the sun's going down. I am getting cold. I am not skating right now. I got to walk back. I'm like, okay, I know downtown is this way. It looks like it's far, but if I head towards the downtown, okay, I should be able to figure it out. I don't know how long it took me to get back, but it took me a while, man. It took a while. And by the time I got back, it was dinnerish time, I guess. For some of the people. So I finally found the hotel. Like, I was asking directions, and it's Canada. Everybody's friendly. That. To left here, right there, go to so-and-so street. You know where that is, right? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I had no idea, but I eventually got there. I walk into the hotel, and I see some players milling about, and the equipment guys and the trainers, and they're in different groups getting set to go out to dinner and all that. And Joey McMahon's there, and everybody's like looking at me because I was frozen stiff by the time I got into the hotel. They're looking at me. Guys start cracking up and everything. And Joey's like, man, what happened? How long were you out there? I'm like, it's not how long I was out there. It's how long it took me to walk back. There was no taxi, and I mean, it busted the guys up. And I don't know. I don't even know what I did for dinner that night. I probably did room service because I was frozen. And, you felt a little bit foolish, but in the end, it was a good story. And that was my introduction to Alberta. So I'll be in Banff this coming week. Also spend a kind of a day and a night in Calgary as well. So should have a better summer experience as opposed to the winter experience. In any case, okay. All right, let's move on. New York Rangers training camp coming up about a month away, right? 3-4 weeks away. You're going to have the rookie series against the Philadelphia Flyers. Those 2 games that the Rangers play every year against them. Only 4 preseason games this season, or this training camp period. 4 games in 5 days. Man, it's going to be tough to make some decisions on players that are on the cusp, especially the younger players. And that's where I want to start. I know Ranger fans are going to be upset if they don't feel like Liam Greentree or Albert Schmitz or, name your guy, Cole Bodwin, or, even guys that have been pros and have played a little bit with the Rangers, maybe Adam Sykora or Yaro Halemash. If they feel like, oh, this sucks, these guys didn't make the team, or they didn't get the chance to really shine, with an opportunity. They weren't given a fair chance to make the team. That possibility is real. I mean, listen, I'm excited to see what the young kids are going to do. I want to see, all of them: Greentree, Aspinall, Bodwin, Battaglia, all these guys, Brody Lamb, who turned pro last spring. I want to see, is anybody the next Noah Laba? But will somebody get that chance to be the next Noah Laba in this training camp? And if not, is it okay? I think it is. Okay. Because here's the deal. You want to look big picture here. Certainly you would love it if some kid jumped off the page, like just jumped out there, was far and away one of the best players in the rookie camp and in those rookie games against the Flyers, then carried it over into the preseason and training camp and just kept kicking down the door. And you said, you know what, this kid, we've got to find room. We got to make a space. We got to make space for him. That was Noah Laba a year ago. Now he's 22 years old. He's a mature kid. So his personality, his mindset, he's a mature kid with a mature approach. He had a lot of responsibility at Colorado College, but one of the reasons why they built that program around him is because he could handle it. Broad shoulders, again, that maturity. And most importantly, I think, for Mike Sullivan, when he was deciding on, hey, I'm going to keep this kid, he's going to be a bottom six center for us, were two things. One, he plays a very mature game. It's one thing to be a mature kid, right? Carry yourself in a mature way, but he plays a mature game. He plays a 200-foot game. He's very conscientious defensively. And he was able to compete against big, strong men. At 22, he's still a kid. And he was certainly a rookie. He had only played 10, 11 games at Hartford at the end of the prior season. But mature game. And the other thing, and Sully talked about this all of last season. Anytime he asked about Laba, it was almost always one of the first things that he mentioned was that he added speed to the lineup, of a lineup that was not a fast lineup, not a lot of fast players in that lineup, and not enough players who thought quickly and moved the puck quickly, as well as not great skaters. Noah Laba stood out and brought that to the Rangers lineup. So he kicked down the door and forced his way in. Now, he also had a longer runway in training camp, 6 preseason games, of which I believe he played 5 of the 6 last year, and forced his way into the lineup, right? There was a hole that Rangers could have gone with Zibanejad, Miller, Trocheck, and Carrick down the middle a year ago. But by having Laba in the lineup and him proving that he could play there and hold down a bottom 6 spot, what happened was it afforded the Rangers the flexibility to put JT Miller on the wing. He could still take faceoffs, which he does. He's outstanding at, but he could still play on the wing. You could put him with Miller. You could put him with Trocheck. Or Zibanejad could play on the wing. Miller could play center. Whatever the configuration you wanted. It gave the Rangers a lot of different options. So that's the buildup of why Noah Laba was able to make the roster last year. Now this season, or this preseason coming up, there are only 4 games. I don't think anybody's going to play 4 games in 5 nights. I don't think anybody's going to play every game. So that's fewer looks and game action in a shorter amount of time that you need to make important decisions. Opening night is September 29th. There will be 84 games this season, not 82. So you got to make some quicker decisions. And there aren't a whole lot of openings on the Rangers roster. So I'm here to say, I get it. If Greentree or Bodwin or even Schmidt doesn't make the team, even if it's Sykora and he doesn't make the team. Now, I know he's had a little bit of runway he built up some equity because he played really, really well down the stretch last season. Scored the 3 goals, was the Energizer Bunny. I'd love to see him on the opening night roster. And we'll get to this too. He's also waivers exempt, which may work against him. So let's backtrack and talk about how you fill out your roster here for opening night. but not sweating it because there is a bigger picture. Okay. So let's take Greentree as an example. Does it make sense for Liam Greentree, 20 years old, rookie pro, a guy who is, a stud, in junior for the most part, a captain, pretty rugged player. Certainly a guy that produced offensively, over 300 points at Windsor over the course of his junior career, had that one incredible season 2 years ago. 49 goal season, 70 assists, just insane, video game numbers. He didn't have a lot of runway here. So if he just absolutely doesn't blow you away, even if he's good, even if he shows in the rookie games, boy, he is far and away the best guy in that tournament, right? Those 2 games against the Flyers. And he handles himself well in the preseason games. But the Rangers decide, you know what, we're going to send him down. That's okay. That's okay. Because weigh this into the equation. 18 plus minutes a night as a top 6 forward, top power play unit. Great opportunity. Still a step up, a big step up from playing in junior by playing professionally in the American Hockey League and kind of getting your feet wet there, but getting a lot of opportunity for all of them. I mean, we're using Liam Greentree as the example, but Aspinall, Bodwin, all of these guys get that opportunity, get your feet wet, get your minutes, play in prime spots, right? Game-changing spots, top power play unit, be on the ice in the final minute of the game, holding a 1-goal lead, those type things, crucial things that will help their development, as opposed to being a 4th-line wing, maybe playing 8-9 minutes a night. And this is what Sullivan and everybody else has to weigh. Is he so far along, or is that prospect so far along that those 8-9 minutes a night against NHL caliber talent with a chance to, move up over the course of a game if the Rangers need a spark or whatever, do you trust him enough to do that? Do you think he's developing enough in that role? Right? Those are the decisions the Rangers need to make. And I say it's okay if the Greentrees of this world, of the Rangers prospects and prospect pipeline, start the season in Hartford. It's okay. They don't have to be there all year, right? Not everybody needs to be Noah Laba and make the team right out of training camp. It is awesome if somebody kicks down the door and does that. But the Rangers have, right, protection, if you will. They don't need any of those kids to force any of those kids into that spot. But the opportunity is still there, right? Like with Gabe Perreault last year, and Gabe didn't make the opening night roster, but he played big minutes, top line, Hartford, would have been an AHL All-Star. He was pretty much a point a game player. He was a player of the week guy in the American Hockey League at one point, 10 goals, 20 games. He was really good, but he was learning the pro game. He was playing against bigger, stronger men. He was learning to adapt. And then the Rangers gave him his opportunity. And there's no reason why that blueprint, as long as it's earned, can't work for other prospects this season. So there's no jumping off the bridge and, the Ranger pipeline, Ranger prospects, they suck. They got these new guys and it's the same story. These guys can't play. Or, it's Sully. Sully can't coach the younger kids and he can't develop. He doesn't want them on the team. He's going to want another Connor Sherry, wasted veteran and all that. It doesn't have to be that negative narrative. It could just be the right pace, the right timing. Okay. And they have pieces in place to buy them time. They go out in free agency. They sign Oliver Bjorkstrand to a 1-year contract, not a 3-year contract, 1 year, 1 year. It's like a placeholder. And listen, if he gets back to being what he was a couple of years ago, a 20-goal guy, he had 6 20-goal seasons on his resume. Last year with Tampa, he played more of a bottom 6 role than a top 6 role, and his numbers dropped. And, he only had 3 goals at even strength. right? He had 9 on the power play, but 3 at even strength. So I get it. That's not attractive. That doesn't excite me. But he's a placeholder. He's a trusted veteran. He has scored in this league. He's only 31 years old. He's not going to really hurt you defensively. He's a good teammate. He's a lot of these things. Listen, I'd rather have Oliver Bjorkstrand in the lineup than Connor Sheary, though I got why Sheary made the team last year. I won't defend the amount of minutes he played in the top 6 or the amount of games that he played throughout the course of the season, but I got why he made the team. Right? He's a Sully disciple. He won 2 Stanley Cup championships in Pittsburgh with Sully as his coach. Sully trusted him, and he was like a message carrier, right? And Sully needed that as a new coach. Here's a guy that was a disciple, right? And helped bring that Sully message into the dressing room. A respected veteran, 2-time champion. I thought he played too much. I thought he played too much in the top 6, got too many opportunities, power play, all that. I get it. I got the negatives with Connor Sheary, but I understood why he at least made the team. I would argue that, you probably get given that spot to somebody else before too long, but okay. Bjorkstrand's not that. Bjorkstrand is a better player. He's younger, better production over the course of his career, and I think really can help the Rangers' top 6. He may play in the top 9, depending on configurations, line configurations, he could play, on the third line as well. If they move Will Cooley up, I know Cooley's a left wing. I know Bjorkstrand's a right wing, but depending on how you move guys around, Lafreniere and Perreault, who plays left wing, who plays right wing on which line, it could be done. But probably Bjorkstrand starts the season in the top 6. That's a placeholder. That's a good veteran placeholder. So you don't have to rush any of the kids, force them into an opportunity that they may not be ready for, or they didn't get enough of an opportunity to show themselves that they are ready for it or on the cusp of being ready for it, because there's, a shorter preseason, this year. So again, the overriding message, at least for me, is, and just using Greentree as an example there, along with, Bjorkstrand is in there in the mix as well, as protection, is I wouldn't flip out. Whatever this opening night roster looks like, I wouldn't flip out. I wouldn't say, oh, here we go. They sent Sykora down. Well, factor in everything, right? And the Rangers have to do this. It's a business. So Sykora is waivers exempt. So if he doesn't blow everybody away in training camp, the competition, there's a chance that he starts the year in Hartford, but he's right there. When you need him, he's right there. I think that's okay. Sykora's 22 now? I get it. I know he's 4th year in the organization, but he's 22. And he had a nice little run at the end of the season last year. And I like him. He's a spark plug. But, are you sold on him as an 84-game NHL player? Well, maybe you are. I'm not sure the Rangers are. But okay. The other factor is that he's waivers exempt. So is Milosh. Certainly all the, the first year pros are, the guys that we mentioned, they can all go to Hartford. That's the big wind up to the big elephant in the room, if you will, is the 6'9" elephant, Matt Rempe. And listen, we have a poll out right now. We're doing our summer polls on Forever Blueshirts. And the latest one is, what do you do with Matt Rempe? Is he a 4th line wing? Is he the 13th forward, the extra forward? Do you waive him? Do you trust putting him through waivers and trying to get him to Hartford? Or do you trade him? And, right now, and the votes are still, the poll is still ongoing. A lot of people are involved. They are very opinionated, but there is very little variance between those 4 options. There's no runaway answer here. So far, we'll see how the poll ends up, and we'll certainly write about it about Forever Blueshirts. But Rempe now requires waivers to go down to Hartford. Now, keep in mind, I know he's a polarizing guy, but do you want to risk just losing him going through waivers? Do you think somebody would claim him? Maybe you don't think anybody would claim him. Maybe he does go through. If he's doesn't prove that he's vastly better than Hamilash or Sykora or Greentree or, whomever, but, then you got to keep the best guys. But I think by the Rangers keeping him this offseason, they believe he's going to be on the roster opening night. Like, they traded Brett Berard. They traded Adam Edstrom. So those are two guys that have played in the NHL. Not a lot, but two bottom six guys that are out of the mix. Rempe's still here. There's a reason why he's still here. And a lot of that has to do with, go back to last preseason, last training camp, right? A year ago, Matt Rempe won over Mike Sullivan right away. He was staying away from the stupid hits, the stupid penalties. He carried it over into the regular season. That fourth line with him, Carrick, and Edstrom was a really good fourth line for the first 9 games of the season until Rempe, just mashed up his thumb in the fight with Ryan Reeves, and that ruined the rest of his season. 2 surgeries, and when he came back, he still wasn't the same. I saw Rempe over at the Shoulder Check Showcase a couple weeks ago, and I asked him, obviously, you don't want to be hurt, and it's exciting having people so interested in you in the off season and everything. But this off season has been so different from last off season for him. Not that he's working any harder, because I think he's always been a hard worker, tried to improve his skating, tried to be a better player in all aspects, mentally got himself ready to be a different player last season. So I don't think that's any different this summer from last summer. The difference is he's flying more under the radar, right? There aren't TikTok videos and Instagram posts, every day about every move that Matt Rempe makes. All right, I get it. There's still a certain segment of the fan base that's super into Matt Rempe, but he's less of a phenomenon now. Like, it almost felt like the Rangers moved on from him last season. They didn't. He's still here, and he's still a significant possibility that he's going to be on the fourth line this season, right, to start the season. But I asked Rempe about that, about the ability to fly under the radar, and he said, I really like that phrase. I've just been able to, I'm paraphrasing now, put my head down, just go to work every day. In other words, there are no distractions. I'm just doing what I'm doing. I don't need the outside noise, because he's dealt with a lot, and he had to reset himself. He said that he had to reset himself because of a lost season last year. He was trending in all the right ways up. And again, his up, his ceiling is not, Gabe Perreault's ceiling or Alexei Lafreniere's ceiling, right? That's not him. But as a bottom six guy, a guy that can impact games at the NHL level, he was trending the right way. He was playing the right way, staying out of the box. He was physical. His skating improved drastically. He was winning puck battles. I mean, that fourth line, their expected goal share was impressive. Now, they struggled to put the puck in the net. He only had 1 goal all season. Adam Edstrom had numerous chances. It really struggled to put the puck in the net. And then, Carrick did his job until he got traded. But that's the Matt Rempe that Mike Sullivan wants to see in training camp here. I think Sully's a believer. I think Sully is really intrigued by Rempe still. But we'll see. He's got to earn it in training camp. But because he's not waivers exempt, I think that gives him an extra check, in his box to make the opening night roster, right? So if the top 6 is the top 6, and we'll include Bjorkstrand as the 6th in the top 6, and your third line is Cooley, Laba, Cartier. Your fourth line then is Joe Velleno, and then on the wing, you would think Taylor Radish. Now here you go. You're really only playing for one spot up front. Training camp, you really only have one spot up front, unless a bunch of guys just completely outplay Rempe and Radish, let's say. Right? Taylor Radish has a spot here. He's an NHL player. You may not love him, but he's a guy you can trust in your bottom 6. And when need be, if you need a spark or, move somebody up in the lineup, or somebody gets hurt during a game, or even, it misses a couple games, you can move Taylor Radish up into the middle six. Ty Cartier, even if it's for a small amount of time, you could move him up to the second line from the third line. You could also move him down to the fourth line. If Radish is more effective, Radish could go to that third line, Cartier go to the fourth line, right? Those are nice options with guys that have NHL experience. Now, it's not terrible, but you have those guys there as safety nets, right? Radish has one more year left on his contract. Velleno signed a 1-year contract. Bjorkstrand signed a 1-year contract. Cartier gets a chance to audition this coming season. He was real good after they got him off the waiver wire last season, but he's got a year now to prove himself because he's a restricted free agent at the end of the season. Okay. So decision will have to come on him and other players, but certainly for him. So again, I circle back to the point. There's no reason to freak out if your favorite young player or any young player doesn't make the opening night lineup. Taylor Radish doesn't need to play 84 games this season, right? Matt Rempe probably doesn't need to play 84 games. Joe Velleno, listen, here's a guy. Everybody keeps waiting for Joe Velleno to pop. He really hasn't popped in the NHL. Now, he should add some speed to the lineup. He'll get an opportunity. But listen, if it's 30 games in and Joe Velleno's giving you nothing, and listen, he's done that in the past. He's bounced around and, he's had those seasons. And Cole Bodwin, who a lot of people I talk to, hockey people, scouts, prospects, experts, that have seen a lot more of Cole Bodwin than I have. Like, I've seen him play in the World Juniors. I've seen video for sure of him, but, I haven't seen him play, a full season's worth of games. For those that have followed him and seen him play those games, they say after Albert Schmitz, he is the most NHL ready prospect that the Rangers have. He's the guy other than Schmitz that could earn a spot right out of training camp. But again, the Rangers have protected themselves. They don't have to force, Bodwin doesn't have to force the issue here. The Rangers don't have to force the issue with him because they have Joe Velleno, again, on a 1-year contract. That's smart business. That's smart business right there. I'm not saying Velleno's a great player or Bjorkstrand's still a star or anything like that. But it's smart business to bring those guys in on 1-year deals. And, if these prospects, whether it's now, whether it's 30 games in, half the season, later in the season, they earn their way for a spot on the Rangers, and you believe that he can be better than Joe Velleno or Oliver Bjorkstrand or whomever, Taylor Radish, Matt Rempe, okay, make that move. But I think to start the season, it's going to be more that veteran lineup. We'll see. Sully hasn't spoken this offseason. I don't know what he's thinking. This is just me looking at it sensibly. So I think there's going to be a battle for that final spot on the wing, on the fourth line, and also to be the extra forward. And, we made the argument on Forever Blueshirts that, the thing that made Johnny Brodzinski such a good 13th forward, among other things, his demeanor, his leadership, his maturity, the fact that he could play up and down the lineup, was that he was a center and a wing. He could play both. You could put him anywhere. That type of versatility is nice in your 13th forward. I don't see that versatile player out there for the Rangers right now. I know Matt Rempe played center in junior. I don't think he's going to be, playing a lot of center in the NHL. If somebody goes down, you're not saying, oh, okay. Matt Rempe will play center for the next 2 weeks. I don't think that's happening. So does that also, maybe open the door for somebody like a Justin Dowling to compete, for that 13th spot? Or are you not concerned about that if you're Mike Sullivan? Say, I got my 4 centers. Remember last year when everyone was healthy, they had 5 in the lineup regularly because you had Trocheck and Miller or Zibanejad could also play on the wing. So, you had 5 centers in the lineup and Brodzinski as a 6th guy that was waiting in the wings. Now that's when, everybody was healthy. Now you really have 4 because Trocheck and Brodzinski are out of the mix. But if that's not important to Sullivan, if he can say, listen, if somebody gets hurt, a center gets hurt, we'll call up, somebody from Hartford, then no problem, right? Then I would say, I think the 3 guys that will be really battling for the spots here, probably 3 guys for 2 spots, would be Sykora, Hamilash, and Rempe. And I think Rempe's going to get one of those spots, maybe because, certainly he could earn, flat out earn it. But the other side of it is that he's waivers exempt. That he's not waivers exempt. So then it comes down to Hamilash or Sykora. And, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. So some thoughts there. Albert Schmitz, we've mentioned his name a couple of times, right? It still applies to him too. If he doesn't make the opening night roster, it's okay. It is okay. Let him marinate. Let him be Gabe Perreault. Let him be on the same track as Liam Greentree and those other guys. He's 18 years old. And he may very well be capable of playing in the NHL, when the puck drops September 29th in Boston. We'll see. But I wouldn't freak out if he doesn't make that opening night lineup. Oh, look at the Rangers. They kept Vakanainen and Robertson. What the hell? That's why you have Vakanainen and Robertson right now, kind of as your extra guys lurking. Or Scott Morrow, he's another one. He's another one now that's no longer waivers exempt. So he's got to go through waivers to get through the minors. Dylan Garand, the goalie, same thing. But if Spitz doesn't make the opening night roster, it's okay, man. Don't freak out. It's okay. I'd love to see him there. I'm as excited to see Albert Smith play and grow on a day-to-day basis as you are. But pulling back, looking big picture, if it means that he joins the team in January instead of September, okay. Or he's got to play a full season in the minors. Maybe he's struggling a little bit, adjusting to North America or whatever the case is. It's okay. Let him adjust. Bring him along, develop him. If he's ready for the NHL, don't hold him back. But if not, it's okay. And you know what? Matthew Robertson as your 6th defenseman doesn't suck. I think Robertson's on this team no matter what. If Schmitz makes the team, I think Robertson's your 7th guy. I know Vakanainen, they have more money invested in him. He's more a veteran. You could argue that he's the perfect extra defenseman, because he's played that role before. I just like Robertson better. I think Robertson's a better all-around player. And if you lose Vakanainen on waivers, whatever, so be it. That's if Schmitz is ready. And if not, I think then Robertson is your left side 3rd pair defenseman, which, partnered with Schneider. And then, we'll see. Morrow or Vakanainen, probably one of those two would be your extra D. So anyway, that's kind of the look ahead into training camp and why I'm not freaking out about what the results are going to be. Here's another this is a fun thing. Okay. And part of this is, you take it seriously. Part of it's like, can you really take it that seriously? But I've seen a lot of chatter pick up that Rangers just need to tread water. If they make the playoffs this year, who cares? We want to set ourselves up for Connor McDavid in the summer of 2028. And now listen, there are people that are saying, we could get Connor McDavid in the summer of 2026. Well, no, he not only stayed with the Edmonton Oilers at that point, they had been to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals. But he took far less money than he could have earned elsewhere on the open market. He did that because he wanted Edmonton to be able to build around him because he believes that they still have a crack at winning the Stanley Cup. Now, they added Freddie Anderson as a goalie in the offseason because they haven't had the goalie situation right during Connor McDavid's tenure there, even with the trips to the Stanley Cup final. So now Ranger fans are looking ahead, or not all of them, but there's chatter, it's out there, right? Let's just tread water. Let's not spend a lot of money, bringing guys in. Let's load up for Connor in 2028. And okay, it's a little bit of a flawed strategy because you can't wish or plan for something that just absolutely may not even be an option. You could extend again with Edmonton, especially if things go well, or whatever the case might be. You can't hold back. If you have a chance to get, I'm making it up, Jason Robertson in free agency next summer, absolutely wants to come to the New York Rangers. Do you just ignore him because you don't want to give him $18 million a year because you're trying to save your bankroll for Connor McDavid the following summer? And then that may not happen. Obviously you can't run a business that way. Okay. But you also, it's worth dreaming a little bit on Connor, right? So in 2028, Connor will be 31, right? So you can argue not quite his prime, but 31 he's not old. And especially the way he's playing, right? He's still at an elite level. Now that'll be 2 years still away, but this isn't like getting Wayne Gretzky at the end of his career, with which the Rangers did. And Gretz still delivered. If you remember, those teams weren't great. Those Ranger teams weren't great. His first season, they did make the Eastern Conference Final. It was him and Mess. Gravy had, the big overtime goal in the playoffs. They made it to the Eastern Conference Final, that team. And Gretz, was terrific. But he was much older. He was at the end of his career. Connor at 31 is not Gretz when he came to the Rangers, right? He still has a lot of great years ahead of him. So, there's reason to dream on it and kind of envision, so Dorofeyev plays on the right of Connor McDavid. Yeah, that's pretty sexy top line right there. And I don't care who you put on the left side, right? Laffy, Cooley, Perreault, somebody new, whatever, or Greentree, or whoever the guy is, that's Connor McDavid. I could see why fans would get excited about that, but you can't, build your whole strategy about a big if. What if? And I saw some people saying too, but he's gonna, he left money on the table with Edmonton. He's never going to do that again. You're gonna have to pay him $20 million. He's gonna have to be the highest paid player if he makes it to the free market in 2028. And I agree. I think he will. I think, he left the money on the table before. I don't see him doing that again. But at that point, the salary cap in 2028 is going to be at least $123 million. So let's say Connor gets 20 and that makes him the highest paid player. Like right now, let's see, Macklin Celebrini, I think, is around 18.5 beginning next season with his extension. I think right now he's the highest. Well, Leo Carlson will be the highest paid player this season at 18. Celebrini next season at 18.5, unless somebody goes past them. So let's say Connor's 20, maybe even a little bit more. That's roughly 16% of your cap. It's actually a little bit less percentage of the salary cap, the projected cap that season, than what Celebrini will make next year or what Carlson is making this year. So, whether it's 20, 21 million, and I get it. That's tying up a ton of money, because Dorofeyev is going to make 11. Igor's 11 plus at that point. Fox will be in the last year of a $9.5 million AAV. So who are we missing? Who else will be in for money? Laff is at, roughly 7.5 at that point. We don't know what Perreault will be making at that point. But that they're going to have some significant money tied up. So, you'll eat into that 123 million if that's what it is. It could be even more. But it's fun. To kind of play around with that, the mental gymnastics, Connor McDavid, 97, put on the C. The flip side of that, though, is would he want New York? Like, I think he could, I think he could handle the market. He's lived his whole life, his whole career, with this in the spotlight. So I think, coming to New York, he'd be fine. I don't think that would be an issue. But would he want New York? Right. So at that point, yeah, we mentioned some of the younger players that they would have here at that point. Dorofeev would still only be 27. Gabe Perreault would be 23. I guess Laugh would be 26, 27. You still, you have a core of good young players at that point. Schmitz would only be 20, 21. But you also still would be saddled with a pair of 35-year-olds still under contract in Miller and Zibanejad. Fox, I guess Fox would be 30, 31, but in the last year of his contract. So if he had not re-upped or been given an extension, McDavid could look at that and say, who's going to be our puck distributor, when this guy, moves, if he moves on. Igor would be 32, maybe not exactly his prime, but still certainly, capable of winning a Stanley Cup, all things, being equal, he stays healthy and all that. Is there enough there to intrigue Connor, to come to this team? Like, we talk about the prospect pipeline. It's better than it's been. It's not great, though. This isn't an elite prospect pipeline the Rangers have built up. So, what's the draw? Listen, Dorofeev might be a great draw. Connor might be like, oh man, I can, set this guy up. He'll score 50. I don't know what he's thinking. But anyway, it's just fun to play through some of that stuff. And I thought I'd toss that in near the end of the podcast this week. Just as, fun. Let's see. I was running numbers and looking at it. I'm like, well, all right. It's worth at least it raising as a topic of conversation. But the here and now tells us that training camp starts in a few weeks. We have 4 preseason games. Regular season begins September 29th, and the Rangers will try and make the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in 3 seasons. I think they've got a shot. I talked about it on the program the last 2 weeks. I think the Carolina Hurricanes in the Metro are a team that you can absolutely put in ink. They're going to be one of the top 3 teams in the division. They should be the best team in the division, the defending Stanley Cup champions. But they're not a perfect team. We'll see how it goes with Nikishin, how the goaltending, plays out. Anderson's no longer there now. So now instead of a 3-headed monster, you've got the 2 guys. But they're the best team in the division. Then I think it's the Washington Capitals. And then that 3rd spot, Rangers, Flyers, Devils, Penguins. I think it's a battle royale, right, between those 4 teams for that 3rd spot. And after that, then Columbus or the Islanders, I think, would have to surprise to earn a playoff spot. I really do. I think both those teams are a notch below. But I think the Rangers, as of today, mid-August, dog days of summer, puck hasn't dropped at training camp yet. Certainly hasn't dropped on the season yet. That's where that's the optimistic point of view, but I think it's a realistic point of view for the Rangers too. The other part, though, is, and we talked about this, again, the last 2 podcasts, is that I think right now, mid-August, dog days of summer, training camps, nobody's been injured yet. I think there are going to be 5 teams coming out of the Atlantic in the Eastern Conference, which only leaves the top 3 spots in the Metro. I don't quite see a Metro team making it as wild card. Again, that's as of mid-August, right? We'll see. All of a sudden one team goes through a rash of injuries, and that changes the entire scope of things. Listen, look at the Rangers last season. I don't think that they were going to make the playoffs anyway, but you can't tell me that those long-term injuries to Adam Fox, Igor Shesterkin, Vinny Trocheck, and, JT Miller, pretty much playing hurt much of the season, that those things weren't major setbacks for the New York Rangers, right? Had they stayed healthier and a couple other things bounced their way, maybe they would have remained in the mix. I don't know if they would have made the playoffs, but they would have remained in the mix. So, they have to stay healthy too, even though, again, on paper, their roster looks better. We'll see. So I'll leave you with that. And I'm going to go write a couple more stories, post up Forever Blue Shirts. And then guess what? I am signing off. I am signing out, and I am heading to Banff. And I'll report back on my trip next week. And, we'll talk more Rangers hockey then as well. So have a great week, everybody. Blue Shirts faithful. Dog days of summer. Enjoy them. I love the summer. I know I'm a hockey guy. I love the summer. So continue to enjoy the days. Go out, get some sun, go to the beach, take some time off from work, enjoy yourselves, and then come back and join us next week on the Rink Rap podcast. Cheers.